and the quantity and quality of the weapons least, guerrilla warfare. In both cases, the basic limitations and weaknesses of the great powers were revealed to an envious world and to its jealous and ambitious rulers and statesmen. Britain won the Great Anglo-Boer War, but at the cost of its reputation. The number of men, the amount of materiel, and the length of time required by mighty Britain to subdue a relative handful of South African farmers jolted Britain and amazed the world. Among the many interested spectators to this revelation of Britain's limitations, none perhaps was more interested than the Kaiser and the great general staff of the German army, which produced a detailed 2-volume study of the conflict. The exact extent to which the Kaiser and his generals were influenced by the spectacle of the British Army's performance in South Africa cannot be determined, but certainly they saw little to discourage their aggressive ambitions. Whether history has lessons to teach is a debatable and much debated issue, but always men have sought to learn from what others did in the past. As often as not, men have learned the wrong lessons, for like the pronouncements of the oracle at Delphi, the past is capable of many interpretations and is often misunderstood. Men seek solutions to specific problems, and as history never really repeats itself, these kinds of solutions history rarely provides. What it does offer is a vast array of examples which illustrate general principles. A lesson the British thought they had learned from the Anglo-Boer War was the importance of mounted men in modern warfare, and so they sent thousands of horsemen to France in 1914. The real lessons, of course, concerned the more general principles of the importance of mobility to an army. Young W. E. Davies of the Rifle Brigade discovered the kind of lessons history teaches when he found that the Anglo-Boer War was exactly like every other war in that it was unlike any other war. We might, however, learn something from the erroneous conclusions men have drawn from history, particularly the history of wars. After some earlier and all subsequent major wars, there have been those who concluded, as did John Atkins after the Anglo-Boer War, that weapons are too terrible for wars to continue. History has repeatedly illustrated that there is no weapon so terrible that some nation will not sometime use it. The great principles concerning men's conduct are, of course, continually being demonstrated, and the recitation of history's examples, including a roll call of the sins which men and nations are prone to commit, serves as a reminder of the vast range of deeds, good and evil, which men and women are capable of performing. History reminds us, too, that rulers and statesmen are, after all, men and women. For most Britons, the Anglo-Boer War has come to seem quaint. Few remember why it was fought, the way it was fought, or its consequences. The Americans, who had citizens fighting on both sides, who most of them expressed strong pro-Boer sentiments, and who profited mightily from the sale of horses, mules, and tinned beef to the British, remember the war but none of its details, and they have completely forgotten their own interest and involvement in it. For the Afrikaners, however, the war is still a vital, living issue, though the facts have dissolved into myths, leaving in the hearts of many a distilled bitterness. Although nearly all those who took part in the war are now dead, the fears, hopes, attitudes and prejudices it generated remain, and they influence the actions of the Afrikaner people and the South African government. South Africa is a land in whose history bizarre, improbable events have occurred with astonishing frequency, but no event has left a more lasting imprint on the minds and hearts of her people than the Second Anglo-Boer War, and no one can hope to understand the country or those who today rule it without an understanding of this conflict. The best detailed blow-by-blow account of the war is to be found in The Times History of the War in South Africa, 1899 to 1902, a 7-volume work written by a variety of hands over several years, under the general direction of L.S. Amery. I have made frequent reference to this as simply The Times History. The official history had too many tendentious editors. From the array of conflicting numbers available, casualty figures and sizes of forces engaged, for example,